Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Working on Farmall F20 114-501. If you remember from the previous videos, we had two stuck pistons, cylinder 2 and 3 were rusted in place. I managed to get those out, and also the cylinders were very rusted, so I went in and I cleaned the rust out with a regular stone hone used on a drill. I started out with 100 grit stones and moved up to 220. And that cleaned it up pretty well. So at this point, we're going to go in with a ball hone or a flex hone, and we're going to put the cross hatches in the cylinders. So if anyone's wondering, the cross hatches are needed to hold oil in the cylinder walls. So when the piston goes up and down, it creates a seal. And it's just like a suction cup. We all know as kids that the suction cup, you try to stick it on something, it would hold okay, but if you put some spit on it, it would hold for eternity. Well, it's the same thing in a cylinder. A cylinder needs to have certain scratches and a certain pattern in the cylinder to hold oil, and that oil creates a seal. Okay, so we got a ball hone today, or a flex hone, and these are great because they follow the cylinder wall, so something that hasn't been bored out, or it's able to go in and out if your cylinder wall is not true. And on this one here, it's definitely not true. The rust has created some cavities in the wall. These balls are flexible. They'll fall into the cavities and they'll hone it out. If you're going to use one of these ball hones, they are RPM sensitive and they are size sensitive. You don't want the balls to be flexed too much, and of course if it's too small, they're not going to touch the side. So this is perfect for 3 3/4 bore. The RPM range is going to be between 400 and 800. As they get smaller, the RPMs go up, and as they get larger, the RPMs go down. All right. So what I did on that is I found a drill log, actually the drill I use all the time, and I put a little piece of tape on there, and we have an RPM gauge, and I checked the RPMs at high and low. So we're right at 837. So that's on the high side, but I'll just back off on the trigger a little bit. All right, so that's going to work for that. Another thing very important between honing, changing your stones from 100 to 220 is washing the cylinders in between the grits, because you'll end up having the grit from the 100 grit stones stuck in the cylinders, and then if you put the 220 stones on your honer, it's just going to grind that 100 grit material into the cylinder walls. So I set it up with Dawn soap and just wash the cylinders. So right now we're going to wash the cylinders out and then go in with the ball hone. So here we go. We got the tractor set up. We have aluminum foil over the crankshaft, and because this has ball bearings on each end of the crankshaft, the aluminum foil goes up, covers the ball bearings. So when I'm washing the cylinders, we don't want to get any grit on the crank or on the ball bearings. I mean, this is not a restoration. This is get it up and running and have a good time with it. All right. So easy enough. I just got a pot here with soap and boiling water in it. And right now we just wash the grit out and turn it a little bit. We're going to do it to all the cylinders. I got a bucket on the bottom to catch the water from working in the garage. If I was outside, I'd just let it go. So 1 and 4 I didn't hone. So there's still a lot of grease in there. These, there's no grease, so it might take a little more to get the oils out of 1 and 4. And boiling hot water is the best. It loosens the grease up, you know that. And I put tape over the push rod tubes so we don't get any water down into the push rods and into the tappets. Alright, that looks pretty good, huh? I can still feel rust in the cylinders, but you know how far you're going to want to go. Alright. So let's see if I can give you a picture inside the cylinder before we hone it. Number 3 was the worst cylinder. So there's still some rust where the piston had stopped. Okay, so we've done the initial honing with the ball hone. You can see the hash marks in it. All right, this is cylinder 2. You can see we have some pitting from the water. That would be the water line down there in the cylinder. This one here even looks worse way down in there. All right. Well, we're going to go with that. Like I said, this is just to get it up and running. Have some fun with it. This is number 4 here. It looks good. It does have a scratch in it, and yes, you can catch your fingernail on it. So I'll talk about the cylinders. The cylinders, unlike a car, these are hardened sleeves. You can see the edge of the sleeve that's pressed in. They're hardened sleeves. So you're not going to get the hash marks that you would have on a car, because a car is just going to be bored into cast iron. All right. You're right, if you're going to do a restoration, you're going to pull the sleeves out and change the pistons and everything, but we're not going to do that in this one. We're going to run it. A little extra lubrication. All right. So thank you for watching. I'm going to clean this up and I'll get back to you when I'm installing the pistons.